Ever had a best friend betray you in the worst possible way? Stay tuned to see how I turned my friendship betrayal into the ultimate revenge story that will leave you speechless. My name is Sophia Barrett. I'm 28 years old, and for the past 3 years, I've learned that betrayal has a particular taste, bitter, metallic, like blood in your mouth after biting your tongue too hard. Tonight, I sat in the VIP section of the Grand Meridian Hotel, watching my former best friend Olivia Morrison realize that the life she'd stolen from me was built on quicksand. The look of horror on her face when she discovered who I really was will stay with me forever. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't getting even. It's becoming so successful that your betrayer's actions become their own punishment. 3 years ago, I was a different person entirely. Fresh out of college, working as a junior marketing coordinator at a mid-tier firm in Seattle, sharing a cramped studio apartment with too many plants and too little furniture. I thought I had everything figured out, a steady job, a circle of friends I'd known since freshman year, and most importantly, my boyfriend of 2 years, Marcus Wellington. Marcus was everything I thought I wanted: charming, ambitious, the kind of man who could walk into any room and command attention without trying. He worked at a prestigious consulting firm, drove a BMW his parents had gifted him, and talked about our future with the confidence of someone who'd never been denied anything. But the most important person in my life wasn't Marcus. It was Olivia Morrison, my best friend since our sophomore year at University of Washington. Olivia was magnetic in ways I never was: tall, blonde, effortlessly sophisticated, the kind of woman who made heads turn at coffee shops. She came from old Seattle money, the Morrison family name attached to half the cultural institutions in the city. Where I was careful and methodical, Olivia was bold and spontaneous. Where I planned every detail, she improvised brilliantly. We were opposites who somehow fit perfectly, or so I believed. I should have seen the signs earlier. The way Olivia's eyes lingered on Marcus when she thought I wasn't looking. How she always found reasons to be around when he visited my apartment. The subtle questions about our relationship, disguised as friendly concern. "Are you sure he's the one, Soph? You seem so different lately." But I trusted her completely. When you've shared everything with someone for 6 years, every heartbreak, every dream, every secret fear, you don't expect them to covet the one thing that makes you truly happy. The unraveling started with small things. Marcus began mentioning Olivia more frequently. "Liv made this interesting point about market trends today. Olivia suggested this restaurant for our anniversary." At first, I was pleased they were getting along. It meant the two most important people in my life could coexist peacefully. I even encouraged their friendship, invited Olivia to more of our gatherings, included her in plans that should have been intimate moments between Marcus and me. Then came the night that changed everything. Marcus and I had been planning a weekend getaway to the San Juan Islands for months. I'd booked the ferry, found a charming bed and breakfast, even arranged time off from work. 2 days before we were supposed to leave, Marcus called with an excuse that felt rehearsed. "There's this emergency client meeting." "I'm so sorry, sophomore. Can we postpone?" I was disappointed but understanding. His career was demanding. I knew that when we started dating. What I didn't know was that he'd gone to the San Juan Islands anyway. With Olivia. I found out through Instagram, of course. Olivia had posted a story, just a glimpse of ferry tickets and the words "spontaneous adventure," before quickly deleting it. But I'd seen enough. The ferry tickets were dated for the same weekend Marcus had cancelled on me. The background showed the same harbor view I'd been dreaming about for weeks. Confronting them was like watching my life split into before and after. Marcus at least had the decency to look ashamed when I showed up at his apartment with screenshots. Olivia, standing in his kitchen wearing one of his shirts, simply raised her chin and said, "We didn't mean for it to happen this way, Sophia. But you can't fight real love." Real love. As if what Marcus and I had shared for 2 years was somehow counterfeit. The breakup was messy, public, and humiliating. Our friend group, Mostly people I'd introduced Marcus to, mostly people who'd known Olivia longer than they'd known me, chose sides quickly. Marcus had charm and money. Olivia had influence and history. I had righteous anger and a broken heart, which apparently wasn't enough to tip the scales. Within a month, they were officially together. Within 3 months, they were living together in Marcus's downtown condo. Within 6 months, they were engaged. I watched it all unfold from the outside, like a bystander to my own life's wreckage. Friends stopped inviting me to parties where they'd be present. My favorite coffee shop became off-limits because it was near Olivia's yoga studio. Even my job became uncomfortable when Marcus's consulting firm partnered with our agency on a major campaign. That's when I made the decision that would change everything. I quit my job, sold what little I owned, and moved to San Francisco with nothing but savings, determination, and a business idea I'd been sketching in notebooks for years. The idea was born from frustration, specifically, my frustration with how difficult it was for small businesses to create professional digital marketing campaigns without hiring expensive agencies. I'd seen it firsthand at my old job, watching brilliant entrepreneurs struggle to tell their stories effectively online while agencies charged tens of thousands for services that could be streamlined and democratized. So I built Streamline Digital, a platform that used AI and automation to help small businesses create, manage, and optimize their digital marketing campaigns at a fraction of traditional costs. I started alone in a shared workspace in Soma, surviving on ramen and coffee, coding 18-hour days, learning as I went. The early months were brutal. I'd wake up at 5 a.m. to work on the platform before my part-time job at a tech startup. Evenings and weekends disappeared into lines of code, user interface designs, and cold calls to potential beta testers. I had no network in San Francisco, no family connections, no safety net. Every rejection felt personal. Every small victory felt monumental. But slowly, incrementally, Streamline Digital began to work. My first client was a small bakery in Oakland whose owner had been spending hours every day trying to manage her social media presence. Within 2 weeks of using my platform, her online engagement had tripled, and her weekend sales increased by 40%. She referred me to another small business owner, who referred me to another. By the end of my first year in San Francisco, I had 200 active clients and had raised $500,000 in seed funding from a group of angel investors who believed in democratizing digital marketing. By the end of year 2, we'd grown to 5,000 clients across 12 states and raised a Series A round of $8 million. I hired a team of brilliant developers and marketers, moved into a real office in the financial district, and started getting invited to speak at conferences about entrepreneurship and technology. I never looked back toward Seattle. I never checked Olivia's Instagram or asked mutual friends about Marcus. I was too busy building something that mattered, something that was entirely mine. That's why I was so surprised when I received an email from O.Wellington at wellington-morrison.com 3 weeks ago. The subject line read, Partnership Opportunity, Wellington Morrison Digital Solutions. Wellington Morrison. My heart stopped for a moment as I processed the name. Marcus's last name combined with Olivia's. They'd not only gotten married, but they'd started a business together. The email was professionally written, clearly researched, and completely impersonal. Olivia, now Olivia Wellington, was reaching out on behalf of Wellington Morrison Digital Solutions, a boutique digital marketing consultancy serving high-end clients in the Pacific Northwest. They were interested in discussing a potential partnership with Streamline Digital, specifically around white-labeling our platform for their premium client base. I read the email 3 times, each pass revealing new layers of irony. The woman who'd stolen my boyfriend had now stolen my business idea too, positioning herself and Marcus as high-end consultants in the exact field I'd pioneered. But where I'd built technology to democratize digital marketing, they were using traditional consulting models to keep it expensive and exclusive. I spent a week researching Wellington Morrison Digital Solutions. Their website was beautifully designed but vague on specifics. Their client testimonials were generic. Their case studies were long on strategy buzzwords and short on measurable results. It was clear they were trying to ride the wave of digital marketing's growth without understanding the technical foundation that made it possible. More importantly, I discovered they were struggling. A deep dive into public records and industry reports revealed that Wellington Morrison had burned through most of their initial investment, were behind on office rent, and had lost 3 major clients in the past 6 months. They needed my platform not as partners, but as a lifeline. That's when I decided to accept their partnership proposal. But not in the way they'd expected. I flew to Seattle under the pretense of exploring the partnership. I booked a room at the Grand Meridian Hotel, the same luxury property where Olivia had once dragged me to networking events during college, back when I felt intimidated by its marble floors and crystal chandeliers. Now I had the penthouse suite. The meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. in the hotel's private dining room. I arrived early, choosing a seat that would give me a clear view of the entrance. At exactly 2 p.m., Marcus walked in first, looking older than his 30 years, wearing an expensive suit that couldn't quite disguise the stress lines around his eyes. He was followed by Olivia, still stunning but somehow diminished, her confidence replaced by something more calculated and desperate. They both stopped short when they saw me. Marcus recovered first, extending his hand with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Sophia Barrett. Congratulations on your success. We've been following Streamline Digital's growth." Olivia hung back, her usual boldness replaced by uncertainty. "Hello, Sophia," she said carefully. "Thank you for taking this meeting." I gestured for them to sit. "Of course. I'm always interested in exploring new partnerships." For the next hour, they pitched me on the benefits of working with Wellington Morrison Digital Solutions. They spoke about their established client relationships, their deep understanding of the premium market, their proven track record of success. Every claim was either exaggerated or false, and I could tell from the way they glanced at each other that they knew I knew. Finally, I set down my water glass and smiled. "I have to admit, I'm curious about something. When did you two become interested in digital marketing?" Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "We've always been passionate about helping businesses grow their online presence." "Interesting," I nodded. "Because 3 years ago, when I tried to explain my business idea to you, you said digital marketing was just a trend that would pass." The color drained from his face. I turned to Olivia. "And you told me I should focus on real marketing instead of playing with computers. Do you remember that conversation?" She opened her mouth but no words came out. "Here's what I think happened," I continued, my voice steady and calm. "You watched Streamline Digital's success from afar. You saw the industry reports, the funding announcements, the conference speaking engagements. And you thought, we can do that too. So you started Wellington Morrison Digital Solutions, probably expecting to replicate my success by copying my model." Marcus tried to interrupt. "Sophia, that's not, but here's the thing," I continued. "You can't copy innovation. You can't fake expertise. And you certainly can't build a sustainable business on the foundation of someone else's idea without understanding why that idea works." I opened my laptop and turned the screen toward them. I'd done my research on Wellington Morrison Digital Solutions. Revenue down 60% over the past year. 3 major client losses. Office lease in default. You're not looking for a partnership. You're looking for a bailout. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. Finally, Olivia found her voice. "What do you want, Sophia?" I closed my laptop. "I want you to understand something. 3 years ago, you took Marcus because you could. Because you were prettier, more connected, more willing to cross lines I wouldn't cross. You thought you were winning." I stood up, smoothing my dress. "But you weren't taking my boyfriend. You were taking my limitations." Marcus represented everything I thought I wanted: safety, conventionality, approval from people whose opinions I valued too much. When you took him, you freed me to become who I was meant to be. I picked up my purse. As for your partnership proposal, I'm going to pass. Streamline Digital works with businesses that share our values of innovation, integrity, and democratizing access to digital marketing tools. Wellington Morrison Digital Solutions doesn't meet those criteria. I walked toward the door, then paused. Oh, and Olivia? The next time you want to steal someone's life, make sure you understand what made it valuable in the first place. You took my boyfriend and copied my business idea, but you missed the most important part: the vision, the work ethic, and the ability to create something from nothing. I smiled. Those aren't things you can steal. They're things you have to earn. I left them sitting in that dining room, stunned and silent, surrounded by the wreckage of their own choices. 3 months later, Wellington Morrison Digital Solutions filed for bankruptcy. I learned about it the same way I learned about everything else in their lives, at a distance, through industry reports and public records. Marcus returned to his old consulting firm, accepting a position several levels below where he'd been before their failed venture. Olivia moved back in with her parents, the Morrison family money cushioning her fall but not her pride. I felt no satisfaction in their failure, but I felt no guilt either. They'd made their choices with full knowledge of the consequences. I'd simply built something so successful that their attempts to replicate it revealed their own inadequacy. 6 months after that meeting, I was back at the Grand Meridian Hotel, but this time for a different reason. Streamline Digital had just closed our Series B funding round, $25 million to expand internationally, and Forbes had named me to their 30 Under 30 list for marketing and advertising. The hotel was hosting a celebration in my honor, attended by investors, clients, and industry leaders from across the country. During my speech that night, I talked about resilience, innovation, and the importance of staying true to your vision even when others can't see it. I didn't mention Marcus or Olivia by name, but I did say this: sometimes the people who hurt us do us the greatest favor. They force us to discover strengths we didn't know we had and to build lives we didn't know we wanted. Later, as I stood on the hotel's rooftop terrace overlooking Elliott Bay, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Congratulations, Sophia. You deserved this success. I'm sorry for everything." Oh. I read it twice, then deleted it without responding. Some bridges, once burned, don't need to be rebuilt. Some apologies, however sincere, come too late to matter. I stayed on that terrace until nearly midnight, watching the city lights reflect off the water, thinking about the girl I'd been 3 years ago and the woman I'd become. The betrayal that had broken my heart had also broken me open, revealing possibilities I'd never imagined when I was playing it safe, when I was settling for someone else's idea of what my life should look like. Olivia had been right about one thing: you can't fight real love. But she'd been wrong about what that meant. Real love isn't about possession or competition or taking what belongs to someone else. Real love is about recognizing your own worth and refusing to accept anything less than what you deserve. That night, standing above the city where my old life had ended, I realized that revenge had never been the goal. Growth had been the goal. Success had been the goal. Becoming the kind of person who could stand in that space, in that moment, knowing that every choice that brought me there had been mine and mine alone, that had been the goal all along. And I had achieved it, not in spite of their betrayal, but because of how I chose to respond to it. That, I think, is the most elegant revenge of all.
Did you love watching Karma strike back against toxic friends? Subscribe to Karma's Counter-Strike for more epic revenge stories, and tell us about your own friendship betrayal experiences in the comments below.